Low-key banger on UFC 254. This is a dark horse for fight of the night. We have Brazilian Cowboy Oliveira taking on the UFC debutant in the Nomad, Shavkat Rakhmonov. And Matt, if I know anything about MMA, the guy on the left's a lot of fun to watch. But if you don't know the guy on the right, you're missing out. Okay. Shavkat Rakhmonov, the former M1 Global welterweight champ, he's undefeated at 12-0. All of his wins by finish. He has very rarely seen the third round. You go through his record. It's amazing. It's impressive. He fought decent competition over with M1. You want to go back and watch his fight against Marcelo Brito. That one's free on YouTube with M1 Global. Finishes him with a body shot to the liver. You want to go to his last fight against Thiago Varejão. That fight is so much fun to watch. I mean, Varejão, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Rakhmonov is ballsy enough to take him down. He's got a nice judo throw over the shoulder. He was going for guillotines. Varejão was going for guillotines. Then Rakhmonov decides, I'm going crazy. Let's go nuts. And he throws a spinning kick to the body, hits him clean, throws a spinning wheel kick, and then he finishes him on the ground. This guy's so much fun to watch, and the UFC has so much faith in him that the fights that he's been booked in that have fallen apart really tells me a lot about this fighter. Originally booked to face Bartosz Fabinski earlier on in this year, that event scrapped. Then he was supposed to take on Ramzan Emeev. He had to withdraw from that fight. Then he was supposed to take on, not Alex Oliveira for this fight, but Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos. Zaleski dos Santos is out. Now we get Alex Oliveira. And I love the matchup, Matt. I really do. Because both of these guys are all-action fighters. And for Shavkat Rakhmonov, I mean, Kazakhstan, he was going to become Kazakhstan's first fighter in the UFC. There's been a lot of Kazakh fighters now. I mean, it seems like that's the way of the world. We've got Maria Agapova competing now. We've got a really tough out in Zhalgas Shumagulov, who just had a fight booked. And on this card, you have two Kazakh fighters in Shavkat Rakhmonov, and later on in the card, Sergey Morozov as well. So it's awesome to see that part of the world represented in the UFC at the highest stage. Now, again, we're going from right to left. On the left-hand side, Alex Oliveira, an all-action fighter. He can get it done on the ground. He can get it done on the feet. What do you make of this one? Because I think it's an awesome fight, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited for this. And I think Alex Oliveira, he's kind of the perfect guy at 170 to just throw in on short notice into any fight. And it's sort of a disservice to him because it does seem like every time we're talking about a Brazilian Cowboy fight that we're talking about the fact that, oh, he's taking this fight on 3 days' notice. But you know what you're going to get. He's got a really good pace. He throws those great kind of whipping front kicks. He uses range really well. The weird thing is that he does make a lot of sort of basic mistakes, if you will, and Rakhmonov, this is a great first fight for him, because if he can get past the Alex Oliveira fight, this reminds me a lot of Nicholas Dalby on his first fight back to the UFC, because of course he also fought Brazilian Cowboy. It's just a great fight because you know what you're going to get with Alex Oliveira. You're going to get that all-action style. He's good on the ground. He's good on the feet. He's just kind of awkward everywhere, so you'll never be comfortable no matter what stage of the fight you're at. So for Rakhmonov, it comes down to, okay, has your level of competition over at M1 Global really gotten you ready for the UFC? And again, being a champ in that organization, then coming over, Oliveira is going to be better than a lot of the people you have fought over there. And no disrespect to them, but I do think Alex Oliveira, as a skill set, yes, he's been inconsistent, but if you just look at how good he is at striking, well, he's got really good Muay Thai. You look at him on the ground. Yes, the top level, like Jiu-Jitsu guys like Gunnar Nelson can beat him on the ground, but for the most part, he gives a lot of guys trouble. He was able to submit Tim Means. And then on the feet, he does make mistakes. So if Rakhmonov can use his striking to really break up the odd rhythm and timing of Alex Oliveira, I do think he can start to have success as the fight goes on, because Oliveira, he has such a high output that the cardio will sort of fade as it goes on. We saw that in the Mike Perry fight, of course. So Rakhmonov, I think this is a great fight for him to really get known by the North American audience.
And you bring that up and you say North American audience. I mean, Alex Oliveira is a big deal in Brazil, but he's also a big deal in North America. He's a global type of power.
He is, and he's one of those weird fighters that I say, like, Emil Mek's not the best welterweight in the world, but he's a guy who, he's outside the rankings, but the average person might kind of know who he is. He has a little bit more buzz behind him, and I have Alex Oliveira kind of in that category, not to cut you off.
Now, Alex Oliveira, in his last two fights, wins. The one over Max Griffin, the one over Peter Sabata was really surprising. I saw a lot of people going with Sabata as far as picking that one. This one is a tough one because, again, Shavkat Rakhmonov, it's his first fight in the UFC. Over on Topology, limited sample size, 328 total votes, 58% going Oliveira, 74% predicting a decision win for him. The odds right now, Oliveira open a -150. He's now -175 or thereabouts. I'm sure those odds are going to change the week goes along. Rakhmonov open +130, now at a +150 or thereabouts over on Best Fight Odds. So the fans are going with Oliveira. The bettors and odds makers going with Alex Oliveira. I am not. I'm going with Shavkat Rakhmonov, and here's why. I love the striking. I really do. Good head movement. He can move side to side quite well. He can push back and forth very well. Usually you don't get that out of MMA striking. You'll see somebody move in and out well, but side to side they're not as good. This guy, very, very well-rounded. Not to say that Oliveira isn't. I just do like what I've seen out of Shavkat Rakhmonov from those M1 Global fights. You see him rocking the Guerrilla Fight Championships shirt all the time. Really good training partners as well in his corner. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out there. Maybe not necessarily a statement win, but I feel like even if he picks up a decision, which is totally off kilter for him because all 12 of the wins by finish. If you pick up a good decision win over Alex Oliveira, it really sets you up well in the UFC. This is a pop and popcorn. You're enjoying the fight. You sit back and watch it and get what you get. But I think this is an easy contender for Fight of the Night. And I'm going with Shavkat Rakhmonov.
So I do think Rakhmonov can get it done. I'm going to pick him as well. The inconsistency of Alex Oliveira, it gives me some problems because he's a guy who can get hit. And against a guy who has good power and good submission skills in Rakhmonov, I don't like a guy who makes a lot of mistakes. If it was another guy outside the top 15 who... I'm trying to think. Let's say he was fighting like a Santiago Ponzinibbio. I know he's higher up in the rankings. Or even like a Mike Perry. If it was a guy who had that kind of one-punch knockout power, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But Oliveira, he is a rhythm fighter. And he does have to get into his rhythm for things to really be going his way. Another weird thing for Alex Oliveira, weird X factor. Without a crowd, I'm always concerned about how he's going to perform because he's one of these guys who really feeds off the energy of the crowd. He's always dancing when he's walking out trying to have fun. So it's always odd to me when fighters like that, like Kevin Lee would be another example of if he, well, I guess he's getting both of his ACLs fixed, but if he comes back, fighters like that who do really feed off the energy of the crowd, I'm always concerned. And I know it can vary fight to fight, but that's always something I have in the back of my mind. I'm going to pick Rakhmonov. I think this is a great introduction to North American crowds and the UFC audience for him.
I mean, Oliveira, the win over Sabata, no crowd, but still... He is one of those all-action type of guys. Everybody likes a good Alex Oliveira fight, and I think soon everybody's going to like Shavkat Rakhmonov fights. We're both going with the Kazakh fighter here, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Really looking forward to this card. Great co-main event, probably a middleweight title eliminator between Robert Whittaker and Jared Cannonier, and our main event unifying the interim and actual lightweight belts. You have Khabib Nurmagomedov taking on Justin Gaethje. Matt, I'm really looking forward to it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, and as we always say, let's get into it.